Guys, this is Yarn from Orange Juice. You guys asked for it, so we made it. To counter hut life, you need to understand hut life. A goblin hut costs 5 elixir and spawns 13 goblins. That means each goblin is valued at 0.4 elixir. The barbarian hut costs 7 elixir, so each wave of barbarians are valued at 1.4 elixir. Think about it this way. Against the barbarian hut, are you spending 3 or less elixir to kill at least 2 waves of barbarians? If not, you're putting yourself at an elixir disadvantage. If you leave these huts alone, you're allowing your opponent to gain an elixir advantage while letting their units build up. This advantage only amplifies once the game reaches double elixir bonus. The key to beating the huts is to cut down their lifespan. Here are some great cards that counter spawner decks. I'm going to mention this right now. Bomb Tower is the best card to counter spawner decks. Or at least until they get nerfed. We'll go into detail with the Bomb Tower later. If you don't want to watch the entire video, check out the description below for timestamps on the cards you want to learn about. Hut players tend to gain an advantage after double elixir time. If you can get at least 1 crown tower before the final minute, you can assert lane control. Spells are highly effective against hut players, but only when used correctly. You don't want to target huts by themselves. It's always better to use them if you can target multiple huts, crown towers, and recently spawned units. If you lightning a single hut, you're putting yourself at a huge elixir disadvantage to deal a minuscule amount of damage to their tower. You need to lightning at least 2 huts and their crown tower to come out on top. Lightning targets the 3 highest HP targets, so you don't need to worry about accidentally bolting a barbarian or a goblin. It denied 8 goblins and 4 barbarians from spawning. An experienced hut player will space out their huts once they realize you have lightning, so this card is not effective against a seasoned hut player. Poison is one of the best spells to counter spawner decks due to its low cost and lingering effects. It's as devastating as the lightning card, and only for the cost of 4 elixir. Against the goblin hut, it prevents a total of 8 out of 13 goblins from reaching your tower. When you look at it this way, you're spending 1 elixir to damage their crown tower. Against the barbarian hut, it stops the 5th wave of barbarians from spawning, as well as chip away at 1 wave of barbarians. A rocket is devastating against the hut user because the rocket is a high damage card. It's almost an equal trade to take out a single goblin hut, but it's even better to take out a hut and crown tower when you have the opportunity. It completely destroys a goblin hut. And against a barbarian hut, it denies 3 out of 5 waves from spawning. Here's a trick to get the most out of your rocket. You can take out an extra wave if you time it just right. You want to launch the rocket when the first barbarians have traveled about 15 tiles. If they plant their hut in the back, a good trick is to launch the rocket right as the first barbarian has crossed the bridge. This technique is absolutely devastating to the hut user as it denies 4 waves of barbarians. Fireball is another decent spell against spawner decks. You need to understand it can deny 6 goblins, but only 1 wave of barbarians. Fireball is much weaker than the spells mentioned previously and must be used in precise situations or you'll be putting yourself at an elixir disadvantage. You need to time it so that you can kill 1 goblin or hurt 1 wave of barbarians, plus damage the crown tower. With Fireball, you're spending 1 elixir on a barbarian hut and 2 elixir on a goblin hut to deal about 200 damage to their crown tower. Ideally, you want to use Fireball to hit 2 huts, their spawns, and crown tower for a positive elixir trade. If they don't pair up their huts, Fireball can still be useful for nuking the entire army of barbarians. Arrows and Zap are interesting out-of-the-box spells against huts. Zapping a goblin can kill 1 goblin as well as deny 2 from spawning. Arrows will kill 1 goblin and deny 3 from spawning. Against barbarian huts, both arrows and zap deny the 5th wave of barbarians from spawning. Both spells are a negative elixir trade against a single barbarian or goblin hut. It's not a good idea to use arrows, especially if it's your only crowd control card. The only time you should ever be using arrows is if you actually need to use them. Clipping the hut is a bonus. Now, not every deck uses spells, so another counter against spawners is the brute force push with a tank and splash unit. Since your opponent spent 12 elixir on the barbarian and goblin hut, you should have plenty of elixir to brute force push. Against a lane with 2 or more huts, you'll need at least 3 units. The first card should be a tank, the second card should be splash, and the third card should be another splasher or a pusher. To execute this combo, the splasher should be deployed in the back. This gives the splasher a chance to take out some incoming barbarians, as well as buy you time to accumulate elixir for that hard push. The tank absorbs hits, while the splash unit takes out multiple waves until you've reached their tower. Valkyrie, Dragon, and Dark Prince are mini splanks. A Valkyrie is the perfect splank for nuking their super push. With all that being said, you never want to send in a tank without any splash support. It doesn't take very long for the huts to accumulate. If you're lucky enough to have unlocked the princess, she wrecks spawner decks. Another method of countering spawner decks is to push the other lane hard with another rusher. A hut player is most vulnerable after placing the barbarian hut since it costs 7 elixir. Fast units like Hog or Prince can rush in and deal a bit of damage to the crown tower in the open lane. An experienced hut player will never plant barbarian huts unless they're at 10 elixir or have established a clear elixir advantage over you. They'll most likely have spear goblins to defend, so you'll need support troops to back up your prince. If they plant a hut in the middle, you might be able to take it out, but that's a high risk move for an equal elixir trade. If you're facing a good hut player, and they can defend with the little elixir they have, free spell with a rusher card is deadly. Here's a pro tip. The hut life timer still ticks while frozen, so freeze actually denies the last wave from spawning. That's 2 birds with 1 stone. Knowing this, it's occasionally worth it to rush your barbarian hut lane to utilize that freeze feature. Defensive buildings are great too. Cannons and Tesla have a short life timer. The Tesla and Cannon only break even if both huts are played. A good time to play these cards is when you need to pressure the other lane while defending the hut lane. The bomb tower is the best structure against the spawner deck because of the splash damage and high HP. The bomb tower can defend against multiple waves in both lanes and you can focus on pushing. It's a positive elixir trade the moment you plant it. A good support building to have is the elixir pump. Huts are very similar to the pump. Think about it this way, an elixir pump costs 5 elixir and produces 7 elixir in its lifetime. It profits 2 elixir. A barbarian hut costs 7 elixir, and a barbarian is worth 1.25 elixir, so the hut profits about 3 barbarians in its lifespan. The elixir pump helps negate the hut profit and balance out the playing field. It's an investment that spreads out your elixir over a period of 1 minute, exactly like a hut. If you have any requests for future videos, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more quality OJ.